Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're going to be looking at Tom Clancy's The Division 2, and yes, I'm using Assassin's Creed Odyssey footage. I have a bunch of it, and I thought I'd use something different. But you know, if you're kind of worried like, well, why would he do? Well, here's Division footage for you. You got it? Good. Anyways, I wanted to go ahead and address something that has come up in some conversations with me and some of the community members. And I think it's very important because one thing about YouTube that I've learned, especially in The Division, is community members have a very broad spectrum of concerns, ideas, and even thoughts that I feel are much more important than the entire content creator community for The Division even put together. It's a simple fact. There are more of the people in the community that play the game than we do. So I always value opinions, and I really go ahead and I look at them and I analyze them and I try to give myself a feel for what, some of the audience or the community members may be saying. Now, sometimes I'll disagree, and I mean, that's fine. And I'm very, I guess, strong-headed in a way that I could disagree sometimes, but it doesn't mean I dismiss other opinions. So what is the whole point of this entire waiting for this new content that the developers are trying to bring, when in reality, and this is the reality, that content may be a very small fraction of what a content piece like Warlords of New York was able to bring to the game, or it may require some really extreme measure to allow for the content piece to have what we call replayability or longevity in its play, or I would say its shelf life. Let me just call it that. Now, what do I mean? Well, when Warlords of New York was released, they added a gear score increase. It worked at that time. You were buying, a $29 DLC, new map, new area. You were getting a whole bunch of stuff. And then there was also a gear score increase as well as a gear rework. So this was a very interesting time to bring something like that. And that provided for a lot to go, into the game in terms of playtime, in terms of the kind of content, in terms of all the stuff you had to do. You now had more control points, more missions, more exotic weapons, different brand sets, different gear sets that were added to the game. Now, yes, if they're going to be bringing this content to the game, on the minimum, you're going to be having new gear sets and brand sets. That's something that needs to be in there. Now, the question is, new gear sets and brand sets, are those enough? That's usually something that could fit into a seasonal model without any problems, right? So what else is there going to be? Another game mode? Is that going to be kind of enough? I guess if the game mode is compelling, if it's interesting. But again, what else is going to keep players playing? We don't have any room to go further with our shade level unless they give us another gadget. And I've mentioned this in another video, because right now the Shade Watch, when you get to shade level 1000, you max everything out. There are people who I've seen at shade level 7000, some people at shade level 14,000. In fact, the other day I signed in on my PC account and I literally saw somebody at the base of operations with shade level 14,000. There's an agent in this community that has almost 20,000 shade level. So you have to ask yourself, how do you keep the people who are probably not going to go for the shade level 20,000 to play even to the shade level 2,000? You get what I mean? Especially if they have a lot of resources available to them. How do you keep them playing and not get bored with whatever is available in the game? A very unpopular notion, and this was suggested again by one of my audience members, is a gear score increase again on top of this. But there's a huge portion of the community right now that do not find this popular in any scenario or in any picture. In fact, they're very averse to it. And I understand, after all that work you've done, you have to go back and try to do a gear score increase for some of your best gear and some of your best builds. But to be honest, I think it's a sacrifice that you have to make for longevity in the framework of the Division as it currently is. This is probably not something that anybody or many people want to hear. But again, I know it's okay to disagree because you understand and you know that the framework of this game is already built. I've seen a lot of people, also say, but Bungie is doing something unique. Bungie is doing something nice. Why can't Massive do something like that? To be very honest, I don't know. I just feel like the way that the game was intended to be played is a very strict way that Ubisoft usually takes their games and the direction they go with. They design their games with very minimal flexibility in terms of the overall game design. Now, little minuscule things within the game could allow for flexibility, but not too much. In fact, from Division 1, I think they should have taught us a lesson with the gear score methodology where, you had to put on, the gear set methodology where you had to put on, 4 pieces. And then with the classified, you had to put on all 6 pieces, which basically clamped every possible mixture or every possible area of diversity that you could go, and it wasn't until the Division 2 that they unlocked that a little bit. So design philosophies are different, and also production philosophies are also very different between both studios. You can even see this from the reality of Bungie not only being a developer or development studio right now, also their own independent publisher. In a sense, they're no longer under Activision, while Ubisoft is still the parent company of massive studios. So as much as it will sound really great for Massive to one day go on their own, I don't think Ubisoft's going to let it happen. They're a prized I would say gem in Ubisoft's little arsenal. So that's not happening anytime soon. So any of those possibilities for them to do things like, say, Bungie has is more than likely not going to happen. Ubisoft is a very, very tight-run family company, and so the way they do things is really, really conservative. They don't have enough time for anything that they feel could threaten their business model, because they have actually been under a lot of threat. At one point, some of their, I don't remember if this was something that was really broadcast a while ago, where they had this almost huge takeover that happened within the company from this media conglomerate that had invested in them, and it was a big deal. But eventually, the family was able to keep the company. So you're looking at a company that's probably not going to change a lot of its ways. It just happens to be they're making your favorite game. So a little tough pill to swallow there, but it's just the reality. Now, how is this game intended to be played? At the end of the day, when this new content comes out, it will probably not come out with a gear score increase. I know many people are going to run away and say, oh, here you go again. They've said they're not going to bring a gear score increase. I get it. But if they don't bring a gear score increase, I can guarantee you that a lot of people that are still actively playing this game are going to smoke that content in a very short period of time and go back to exactly what it was they were doing. And here's the reality. The truth is, some of them, what they were doing before the new content shows up or whatever that is they were already playing the game. Some people are probably having, fun playing other games, and when the new content shows up, they'll show up, play it, and go back to what they were doing. Some people have the game deleted right now. They may download it, play the new content, delete the game again. And so it still goes back to that question of, how is this game intended to be played? From the Division 1 days, we could always tell that this game was designed for you to play it, put it down, play it, put it down, and play it, and then put it down. And whenever you decide you never want to play it again, you go away. I think that's the core framework of what the live service version or function of this game is about. Because if you think about it, the content that the Division drops, or the content the Division brings from time to time, is content that, they have to go through a lot of this quality and approval process to actually deliver to the community. It's not something they can easily just deploy, even though they can, using PTSs and stuff. But then you have other parts of the community that complain, oh, PC players only get PTSs, yada, yada, yada. And I've heard that complaint, and I wonder, are we not aware that Sony and Microsoft are basically wanting to collect money for them to be able to get these PTSs approved? And if I owned Ubisoft and I could get my PC players to play a test version of my game without any hassles, I would do it and ignore Sony and Microsoft. And then when the content's ready, I'll deploy it on consoles. It's just the truth. We got to get stuff done, and all of this red tape is not helping anybody. And I think that's exactly what we're eating right now. We're eating the consequences of all of that red tape within Ubisoft itself, even to the point where the developers are telling their community that, hey, we're not in charge of actually giving you whatever information it is that you're seeking. We have to actually, the decision is being made by other people, and we just follow their decision. So you think about all of this, you really have to come to terms with all of these complexities. And in my opinion anyways, just be practical about what it is that we're going to be getting in this new content piece. I think, in my opinion, that the new content is going to be very basic. It's going to be very minimal. I think it'll have some interesting aspects to it that keeps people going, man, I wish we had more of this. And I think it's just going to be a springboard for the next Division games. I think it's going to be a springboard for the Division Heartland and potentially another Division game if Massive is actually working on something along the lines of that. But that's pretty much my thought process regarding all of this. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Do you want that gear score increase? Do you think it's realistic? Do you think it's too much of a hassle? But do you think it's something that you're willing to, I would say, compromise on? Or do you think they just need to bring out this new content and figure out a way for us to continue to play it, even though I know that people are going to chew through it and dump it afterwards and say, oh, there's nothing else to do? Talk to you guys later. Peace out.